Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Tech News Weekly, and boy, it was filled with news this week. The last 2 weeks, guys, a lot of news, and that's a good thing. I will first go to my guest to my left, I guess, because I'm looking at him to my left. Doesn't make sense to you, but he's to my left. Eric Lanigan, he joins us every other week here on Tech News Weekly. How you doing, Eric?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
A lot of big news this week, huh?
Big week, big week.
And, of course, I'm joined by John Suncast. I guess I'm going to use both names for you now. How you doing, John?
Furthering confusing everybody else. Like, who am I? Nobody's gonna know who the hell I am anymore.
You know what's hysterical? I got an email.
You see what you're doing to me? You're belittling me by calling me John Suncast. Nobody knows who that is.
B?
You
Son
gotta
B.
pick one name here. Come on.
I got an email.
Does anyone call you Sonny B?
Sonny B.
No.
I got an email from a listener. He's never watched the show, and he goes, "You know, that guy John and Suncast sound like eerily the same." I go, "Yeah, they do."
Just call me Scumcast.
Scumcast. That's what I'm going to call you from now on. But a lot of tech news this week, and our list is packed. So I want to go right into it. I want to dive into the news, and the big news for this week, obviously, the iPhone 5 launch. The iPhone 5 event happened on Wednesday. Pre-orders went up for sale early this morning around 3 a.m. East, 12 a.m. Pacific, and they are already sold out. And within the hour, they apparently sold out. And there's about a 2 to 3 week wait to get yours at this point if you're going to order it online. But before we get to what happened today with the pre-sales, let's go down the feature list. A lot of good stuff. You know, I did the coverage, and I'm a little critical of Apple. I'm an Apple user. I'm a Mac user. I have an iPad. I got an iPod Touch. I felt that the event kind of fell short because we have seen everything about this device and heard about everything that was going to get launched with this device for a year now. The iPhone 5 should have come out last year, in my opinion, so we kind of knew what to expect. With that said, did this device fall short, or do you think this is a big change for them? I'll go to Eric first, and then I know John has a lot to say about this.
It's funny. I mean, you're exactly right. Everyone predicted everything about it, but it was surprising then to see so many people disappointed. I mean, it's twice as fast. It's the graphics are twice as good. It's got features that may come eventually, like HD voice. That won't be coming to the US at first, but eventually it will. I mean, there's a lot to like about it. It's arguably the best phone. I mean, that's worth a big argument, obviously, but I think it's a good upgrade.
I personally felt something was missing with this, and I don't, in my opinion, that iTunes thing that they did, I think sucked a lot of the energy out. But John, what did you think of the event?
The event itself, I thought, was crap.
Yeah.
I mean, really, all anybody really cared about that entire event was the iPhone 5. And they spent maybe 20, 25 minutes on that. And the other, 50, 60 minutes they spent on other stuff that nobody really cared about.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with that too, and I was very surprised that they spent so much time on other things other than the device. But again, how much time are they going to dedicate to a device?
Yeah, I mean, to Eric's point about how some people like it, some people don't, it's very interesting because in some ways I can see both opinions, but at the same time, it's like, well, what did you want? What more did you want? I don't understand what would have sold this for other people that say that, oh, well, this is not different enough from the iPhone 4S.
With that said,
well,
I mean,
you're sold it for you then.
You're getting an iPhone, by the way. With that said, just to kind of put it out there, you're getting the new iPhone.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah. So you like the device, and so listen, I like the device too, and I think this was the proper step for them. I'm going based on the naysayers and certain things that have happened over the last year. I don't think we're going to see these big aha moments that we kind of have become accustomed to expecting from these shows. You know, we're not getting the one more thing anymore, which I think the whole iPad mini thing really also hurt this event because a lot of people were waiting for that aha and one more thing, here is the iPad mini. I don't think they should have done it. I'm glad they didn't. But
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, a lot of the blogs, a lot of that, I think that hurts the event more than anything else when there's so much information leaking prior to it. Eric,
Yeah, I think that's true. I haven't watched the actual video yet. I saw they posted the HD one on iTunes. It was like a 3 gigabyte download, but I can't watch that kind of thing without at least double speed, if not triple the speed, especially breezing past.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Cook, Phil Schiller, these guys are just awfully boring to listen to, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Steve Jobs was genuinely entertaining. These guys are not. I think it was a mistake to make these presentations 2 hours longer. Or 2 hours long, whereas it used to be just 90 minutes was the Steve Jobs length.
Yeah.
And I noticed when I downloaded this, if you include the Foo Fighters performance, which came strangely at the end, it clocks in at 2 hours. And for just a phone that everyone fully anticipated and expected spec for spec, why spend that kind of time?
I mean, specs-wise, this is a great phone. There's nothing you could say about this phone that you could kind of criticize or tear apart. It's a great device. Upgraded camera. Still 8 megapixel, 32.
But I still don't understand why people say that it's not big enough of a change between the iPhone for us to get it.
What, the camera or the device?
The device overall.
I don't, you know what it was? I don't feel that they had to make a big enough of a change for people to buy because guess what? It's an iPhone and everybody's going to go and buy it. They're going to sell millions of it. And regardless if they made a big change or not, they would have sold the same amount. So I don't think they're in that step. It's an evolutionary process at this point. You know, we constantly hear it from the tech pundits, revolutionary, not evolutionary, evolutionary, not revolutionary. And I don't think Apple is going to take the risk at this point because they are the dominant phone in the market. Regardless of what Android is selling, they are the top-selling phone in the market.
Funny enough, I think that is one of the things that Phil Schiller said in one of his interviews is that they didn't want to change the device too much because people like the way things are, which to me is kind of like a cop-out. Why would you? You're Apple. You can do whatever you want, and people will still buy it.
Well, listen, I think they did do some...
They're afraid of violating their own patents.
I know. They upgraded the camera to a new EyeSight camera.
They're calling it EyeSight now, which I find bizarre because they've never called it an EyeSight camera before.
Wasn't it a FaceTime camera last year?
Oh, you're right. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, it was a
You're
FaceTime
right.
camera.
I did not notice that. They backtracked on the branding.
The FaceTime camera is the one that's on the front.
Oh, they're doing two things now.
The front-facing camera is called FaceTime camera.
Yeah. That's
but then that's the same.
Yeah.
Well, why am I seeing EyeSight? Maybe this reporter just wrote it
wrong.
Well,
no. They're calling the camera the EyeSight camera now. All the cameras are called EyeSight.
In the back or the front?
In the back.
Oh, that's weird. That's the opposite. I mean, they used to be. You guys know this, but it used to be on every Apple camera like that was called EyeSight.
Yeah.
Whether it was on the front or built in or mounted on the top, and then they switched to FaceTime. So that's kind of weird that now they've dubbed the back camera EyeSight.
I actually like the branding EyeSight much better than FaceTime.
Yeah.
But see, these are interesting. These little things that don't mean anything to anybody, but you could see the momentum shifting to Tim Cook's Apple. You know, these are executive decisions that Tim Cook is making at this point. You know, calling it EyeSight. There were a couple of things like that. They really concentrating on panorama mode, which really doesn't mean anything to me. I really don't care for that. What were the others? So the camera has a new dynamic low light mode, which I think is fantastic for people who have taken a picture, you know, let's say someone's birthday and they have the birthday cake and the lights are dim and you try to take a picture and all you see is graininess. That should be eliminated to a whatever percentage. I don't know how good it is yet because we haven't seen it. It has a very fancy sapphire crystal cover. I don't know what that exactly is going to do. We don't know yet. It's offering...
I think Phil Schiller claimed it was like better than glass for some reason.
Better than glass.
Quite go into detail.
Yeah. The design is really good. I mean, I'm big on the cameras on these devices. I'm really excited that it's a better camera. does 1080p video now, so that's a great thing.
I think the biggest feature.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The camera is actually a substantial upgrade, and
Yeah.
I think that was underreported. Unfortunately, people play into that megapixel game. I mean, it's 8 megapixels. It's not upgraded. It's actually upgraded quite a bit. You don't want it bigger than 8. You're going to start getting grainier pictures and stuff. They improved the color. They improved, well, I don't know about the color. The screen is more colorful. I caught that. And the taller screen.
And the megapixels don't mean anything. You're absolutely right.
A lot of this too also depends on the processing that happens behind the scenes. Because if you are a photography enthusiast, you know a lot about the processing that goes on behind the scenes, especially if you're shooting JPEG versus RAW. JPEG automatically processes it for you. So a lot of that happens to be depending on how the software processes the photo after you take it. And then, of course, you also have this low light mode, which I think is the biggest feature here. As everybody knows, shooting a picture with a camera phone in low light is always awful. It doesn't matter what the phone you have is. It's always really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Also got like face recognition and stuff too.
Yeah, face recognition. So they did a good job with the camera. The other change that we saw that was rumored. Wow, that's weird. Huh. I just heard my gate open and close. That was wow. On my mic, I could hear the processing change.
And there's Andrew's ADD.
Yeah, look at that.
Speaking of audio, it has beam forming. I like that. It's got 3 microphones. They added one, so I got front, back, and I think front, back, and bottom.
Front, back, and bottom. Yeah.
It actually triangulates where you are, and then separates out the background noise. And they did this, I think, in the Retina display MacBook Pros. I think that's just a really cool technology. I'm also really excited about the HD voice, the voice over LTE. Not coming to the U.S. anytime soon, though. Verizon, AT&T, all those guys have not made any kind of announcement. They're not planning on this soon. So that's unfortunate. But when that eventually comes, I think that's going to be great because we've had the same phone quality for over 100 years.
Yeah.
And it actually got worse when we switched to digital cell phones instead of landlines.
It's funny because I had this discussion with Kirk Harnack. Kirk was here in... Wow. Do you hear that?
No.
You don't hear it?
Nope.
Hang on, Suncast, go do some more. Let me reset my my board here because I'm having an issue. So you go into the dock connector. Yeah, I'm hearing craziness happening in my headphone.
It's his neuroses that are
neuroses.
Yes. Even though nobody else can hear it, he's got to figure it out right now.
His head's going out of phase.
Yeah. So let's talk about this new dock connector, which has a lot of people a little bit upset about. We've heard this rumored before. And what it happens to be, they're calling it Lightning. It's a 9-pin connector, which is a lot smaller and thinner than the 30-pin connector that they're using currently for all their devices. And a lot of people are upset about this because, well, now you may have to go out and get an adapter. And people don't want to spend $29 to get an adapter for any of the accessories that they have now. But the good thing about all of this, I think, is that, 1, it's faster, and 2, it's also reversible. So it doesn't matter if you do it from the bottom side to the top side. Whatever way you plug it in, it'll work.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree. I like the reversible nature of it. I think every plug should have been designed that way. I wonder why it isn't. I mean, why is USB have a proper way and a bad way? I wonder why Thunderbolt they did that way and why this is different. But let's look at this for what it is. $30 for every adapter, every single accessory ever made for an iPod or an iPhone going back to 2003. The first dock connector has been unchanged until now. Every device you own, $30 adapter, which has got to cost them pennies. It's got to cost less than 10 cents for that adapter.
And might I add, the actual cable is not cheap, $20.
Well, Apple has never been cheap when it came to their adapters and cables.
Oh, no, you could get an iPhone adapter. I mean, the plug for
third party.
How much is it from the Apple store? Do you know?
Third party or eBay. If you actually go through Apple, anytime I've seen it officially through Apple, it's expensive.
Talking about plugs, I want to show you guys on camera. This is my MacBook power cable. I don't know if you could see what's happened here.
It's frayed.
There's no plastic anymore. It's just metal. It's exposed metal.
You're going to get electrocuted.
I'm going to. I make sure I hold it with wet hands whenever I pick it up, just like it could happen. For whatever reason, they melt. The plastic starts to melt. And I don't know if it's the cleaner that I use on my desk. I don't know what it is, but it affects it. But they had to move to the new dock connector. And I was reading one of these blogs. I don't remember which one it was. And
this is all because they have new devices now that are much thinner. So they had to redesign the connector to be smaller.
By the way,
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. You can fit that old dock connector on the new phone.
Yeah, just keep shoving it in there.
Works pretty fine on this iPod Touch here, which is pretty freaking thin.
Yeah.
Well, and did you notice they also upgraded the iPod Touches and new iPod Nanos in a different way, and they all include the new dock connector. But the strange thing is, will the 4S and the 4, which are still on sale, will they be upgraded? Or I guess they have the old dock connectors. They're going to be selling the old alongside the new.
That's going to be bizarre for them to do. But you brought up an interesting point. You brought up the iPod Touches, and this is when I lost it during the event. I'm very disappointed in what they did here. They have the 4th generation iPod Touch still being sold, $199 for the 8 gig. The new iPod Touch, which is the 5th generation iPod Touch, right? It's the 5th generation. Yes. Yeah, because all they did was just add a white, back to the 4th generation last year. You cannot buy an 8 gig model. It's $299, and you got to buy a 16 gig model. You've replaced. There's no more 8 gig. You got to pay $300 when you know what. And this is where they're going to get hurt. And I really think this is bad for them. During Christmas, it's one of the hottest selling devices out there. A lot of kids get this. A lot of people that don't want to get an iPhone end up buying an 8 gig iPod Touch, and they're in the iOS experience, and this kind of leads to them getting an iPhone eventually. I have an iPod Touch. I generally buy it every major revision of the device. I'm going to have to spend $300 for an iPod Touch.
That's ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense to me. And you know what? Maybe they did it for
No, Andrew, you don't have to buy it.
I don't have to buy it. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually,
nobody says you have to buy it.
Unfortunately, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Perfect sense, because when Apple sells you an iPod Touch for $199, or when they did, you paid $199 and Apple got $199. When they sell that same kid who wants an iPod Touch for Christmas instead gets his parents to get him an iPhone, that same 8 gigabyte iPhone, I don't even think they have that, but you get my point. That same base model gives Apple more like $700 from the carrier subsidy. So that's huge. That's why Apple, the iPhone is the most profitable thing for them ever. And so I think that's the only reason they're doing this. They're trying to push people into the iPhone, even if it's a younger age, or getting their first cell phone sooner, or just switching carrier sooner.
The other thing they did, which was interesting, that $299 price point is very fascinating to me, because this sets up an iPad mini to be sold at $399. So now they have $199 for the older version of the iPod Touch. You have the $299 larger screen display 16 gig iPod Touch, and you're going to have the iPad mini at $399. You're going to have the iPad at $499. And I think the Mac Minis are $599, right? Or they were.
Sounds about right. Maybe $699, actually. I don't know.
I think what they're going to they're trying to do is hit every $100 price point. So they have something for everybody. I mean, it's brilliant in a way, because then everybody, there's something for everybody, and that's how they get you, and they get you in the Apple environment. But I'm very disappointed in what they did with the iPod Touch. Very, very disappointed. And this is going to be awful during Christmas. How many kids are going to ask their parents for an iPod Touch, and they're going to want the new one, and their mother and father are going to bring them the old iPod Touch?
eBay.
How disappointing is Christmas going to be?
Even worse.
The worst Christmas ever.
Or even worse, they bring them a new iPod Nano, because the Nano, they changed it. It's no longer that wristwatch mountable style. It's now shaped more like the iPod Nano used to be, except it's all screen.
Yeah, doesn't it look like a Chinese knockoff of an like an iPad?
It totally
or an
does.
iPod? It really
totally
looks.
Does.
Yeah, the whole UI. I mean, it looks really like a Chinese knockoff. I was
Because there's
surprised.
circles. It's so weird. I mean, here Apple just sued and won Samsung for using rounded rectangles on the home screen, and so I thought that was Apple's iconic patent. I guess they also now own circles as home screen icons too. But yeah, all those home screen icons on the Nano are circles. But it's deceptive because you can't add software. I think like you were saying, parents may buy this for their kids or vice versa. Kids want it and they don't realize that it's not like an iPod Touch. You can't load software. You can't play third-party games and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, you brought up someone in the chat room. Actually, Coleman, our chat room, brought up something into which I'll kind of lead into, and we could come back to the iPhone stuff in a little bit. Nintendo Wii will be arriving in the U.S. November 18th, and there's going to be two versions, a $300 model and a $350 model. I know, Eric, you like your games. Are you going to buy a Wii?
Absolutely not. I will not spend $400 to play one Mario game. I was shocked to see that this is actually coming out, first of all, and coming out this year. I thought this was going to be vaporware, and I really still think that because of what we've seen, we'll get into the Nintendo TV thing or the Wii TV. I don't think that's going to be much of anything. I think this is going to be, unfortunately, Nintendo's Dreamcast. I think it's going to be the last hardware console Nintendo makes. They have a very strong first-party titles and franchises that, like Sega, that could keep going as a software company, maybe keep the Nintendo DS and the portable things going, although they're really losing ground to Apple and the mobile phones. I just don't see this competing. I mean, certainly not for my dollar. I'm definitely getting the next Xbox, not getting this. I'm really going to miss that Mario game. Mario Brothers U, like it's a university. That sounds weird. But I'm not paying that kind of money for one Mario game.
I'm going to buy this.
Why?
Because even though I don't play games like I used to, I end up buying every console. I'll tell you something. I have a Sony PlayStation 3. I don't have any games for it. I don't have one game.
You're just addicted to buying electronics.
I do. I buy I buy everything.
You're one of those people.
I am one of those people. It's been sitting. I swear to you, it's been sitting in my living room. The last time I turned this thing on had to have been a year and a half ago.
You're an e-hoarder.
I am. And you know what? Maybe I should sell them. Maybe I should just start unloading on these stuff. I'll probably get a Wii U. I think it's really cool. I think the fact that you get this little handheld device is pretty cool with it.
Well, now, what do you want to play there? Are you getting just to experience the new technology, or are there actual titles of software that you really want to get your hands on?
Mario.
That's what it comes down to.
It really
That's what it always comes down to. You got Mario, Zelda.
It's a nostalgia thing. Yeah, I mean, it's our generation's gaming. So, at a young age. So I'm going to end up getting it, and I'm going to play it for a couple of weeks, and I'll just put it in the shelf, and that's it. Oh, who knows? Maybe it'll be great. Maybe their UI and their environment is going to be good. The Nintendo TV, the TV, what is it? TVI? Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, I think they're calling it. Yeah, it's like Wii TV, but it's spelled with two I's.
So
that's weird that they put the two I's on it, and it's supposed. What do you? Because it's like Wii, but TV.
So it includes a DVR and TiVo. It says in this article, but it's not including TiVo.
It works with TiVo.
It works with TiVo.
And, it's supposed to work with all cable DVRs and dish networks.
Yeah,
supposed to, but we don't know the level of integration with any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Now, Eric, do you know how the integration is going to work? Because the reason why, and I'll go back to Google TV, in my opinion, I hate so many aspects of Google TV, but I use it all the time. I don't really use my Roku anymore. I actually gave it to my brother because the fact that I have to go to input 1 and input 2 to use this device is a turnoff for me. With Google TV, it's integrated into one input, I guess, setting. So it's all there. It's integrated with your cable. Is this going to be integrated with your cable and your TV so it's not on separate inputs?
Well, that's a good question. I would guess not, because I don't think Xbox or PlayStation 3 currently do that. I guess what you're talking about with the Google TV, you've got like that HDMI pass-through, right?
Yeah.
So Google TV overlays on top of your existing HDMI signal.
Yeah, the reason why I think they might be able to do is because they signed a deal with all the major cable providers.
Who, Nintendo or Microsoft?
Nintendo.
Right. I think this is going to be somewhat more like Google TV, like, because if you look at some of the pictures of the way this works, you actually use the Wii U controller as a universal remote. And it's actually kind of cool to see some of the stuff that it could possibly do. It's supposed to have like universal search, which is really great. So if you search for let's say Mad Men. It'll come up and it'll tell you can watch it live, you can watch it on demand, or you can watch it on Hulu, or you could watch it on Amazon. Which one would you like to watch it on? And you would just click the icon for whatever service you wanted to watch Mad Men on.
I'm trying to find an image here that I could show. You could also watch on the actual handheld.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool as well. Here's an image of the I think the handheld is really cool.
Well, I think you're gonna have kids get these, and they're gonna have like one for everyone's gonna fight over it, and
yeah, because you can't have two.
Right.
They're not selling it.
I mean, it's right. I mean, Nintendo was one of the first companies that really said this is for. I think they were the first to put a 4-controller port on the console to start with, and said this is for multiple people to play and have fun at the same time. And the Wii U kind of throws a wrench into that because one person has a very different gaming experience with a whole separate screen and device than everyone else does. I mean, I remember fighting with my friends to who gets to be first player Mario, now who gets to hold the Wii U and play with the whole separate screen. Talk about a battle between the kids there in front of the TV. But I think we're going to see exactly what happened with the first Wii, or a little bit different. I think this is probably going to sell perfectly fine for this holiday season, but then as soon as Microsoft has a new Xbox, as soon as Sony has a new PlayStation, the sales of this will just stop.
I mean, $300 though, Eric. It's still in that category of an impulse buy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they were so successful. I don't think they were successful because of their games and what they were putting out there and that they were Nintendo. I think they were successful because it was dirt cheap compared to what Xbox and what Sony was doing at the time.
I'm actually more interested in this whole TV thing that they have going on rather than just the Wii U.
Yeah, but think about it, guys. So we've got everyone in the world now competing to be your DVR and your interface to television. I mean, could you really say that if Apple came out with their solution that was better than Google's, better than Microsoft's, better than Sony's, better than your TV sets, better than your cable providers or your satellite provider, all these cascades down, would you ever finally get to Nintendo and say, I'm going to watch all my TV and record all my shows on my Nintendo Wii U?
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right in that case. I don't think so. One thing that I don't like, I'm looking at the interface on the touchpad of that gaming pad that they give you.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Logitech Harmony remote.
It's really sluggish if you watch the video.
And it looks cheap. It doesn't look like it's not a Retina display. It's not going to have the build quality of a finely built tablet. I mean, if it has the same build quality as the Nintendo Wii, that will not hold up in the current environment of Apple. I mean, the Wii controllers and stuff feel very plasticky and cheap, like a toy. They don't feel like a fine piece of electronics.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have to cut corners because they're selling this thing for $300.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If they make the same mistake they made with the Nintendo Wii, and they say this is just going to be for casual gamers who like motion control, or little kids and they like bright colors and simple graphics, and they like the very low complexity characters in the Wii, the Miis, that's what they're called, the Miis.
Yeah.
If you like your Wii Me and the little people that run around and stuff and that play the Wii Sports, it's just such a different market from the advanced. It's such a different market from the Xbox and the PlayStation world, or the PC console gaming world, where you've got these controllers with like 1,000 button combinations and this intricate gaming with the industry leading graphics. It's such a different market. I'm not bullish on this Wii U.
I actually have a great business idea for all of us. I think we should all chip in, buy a bunch of them, and just start selling them on eBay, because this thing is going to sell out, and we could probably pop each one for about $1,000.
Yeah, make a little business. You're
make
exactly
a little
right.
business from this. Make a killing. Go ahead, Suncast. What do you think?
So I want to move back to some of this iPhone stuff, because there's some interesting stuff here still that we haven't covered yet. And this is one thing that kind of shocked me, is the fact that you actually pay a heck of a lot more for smartphones in California than you do in any other state. And that's because they have this weird law that's been on the books since like 95 or 99, where they actually tax you based on the estimated retail value of the phone rather than the subsidized cost. So, for example, the iPhone. If you're buying an iPhone on contract for $200, you're not actually being taxed on $200. You're being taxed for the actual value of that phone, the full retail value, which would be like $650.
Wow.
That's what they would tax you on. They wouldn't tax you on just the $200. and that can add upwards of $100 or more to your bill just for buying a phone. And people don't necessarily know this about California.
Are there any other states that do that? Whose cat is that? Is that yours?
That's mine.
What are you doing? Stepping on it?
No, he hears me talking and wants me to give him attention.
Oh, okay. Are there any other states that are doing this currently?
I don't know of any other. And California is one of those states where it's kind of like New York, where they want to tax the crap out of everything. I was just reading earlier, too, that they're also trying to close loopholes where Amazon is getting through beyond the tax stuff that they have. Because if you remember recently, California wanted to start taxing sales and shipments of Amazon inside of their state. But there's a loophole that says where if Amazon is fulfilling the order, meaning if you purchase something from Amazon and it comes from a warehouse outside of California, they don't have to provide tax. But California wants to change that loophole and close it so that even if it comes, as long as you're a resident of California and you're ordering anything from Amazon, they want you to pay tax on it.
Sure sucks for me.
Have you noticed that? Did you know that, Eric? That
it's coming. I think it's coming very soon. It's coming in 2013 or something. They're going to start. I mean, it's certainly going to change. When I first got Amazon Prime, I switched everything I bought to Amazon because it was cheapest and fastest to get here. Whoa! I just choked on my water. I think that it's interesting that they're saying there may be loopholes. Because it sounded originally like they had really worked with the state just to get whatever exemption they had currently. And I saw a headline somewhere that's why they're starting to ramp up their same-day delivery. Since they can't compete anymore with brick-and-mortar stores for lack of taxes, they're going to try to get the stuff to your house like the same day or the very next day instead of a 24-hour delay.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by the fulfill thing, which means it doesn't necessarily mean that if you could order from a third-party company that's not Amazon, but Amazon does this thing where they actually can house stock for companies in their warehouses, and Amazon has dozens of warehouses across the country.
So does that mean it would have to be one of those shipped by and sold from someone other than Amazon, or it could still be an Amazon-owned warehouse just in a different state?
It could be an Amazon warehouse in another state, like Northern California. I can't remember my geography very well, but whatever state is above Northern California, if you order something from the neighboring state, they could still ship it next day or the same day to you in Northern California and get around the tax that way.
By the way, it's Washington that's above California. Actually, no, it's Oregon. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say Oregon.
Oregon.
That's interesting because I've noticed something different on Amazon. I was looking for something like, I think it was hard drive cases, like the little plastic boxes to store a internal hard drive. And I was just seeing lots of different things now say, sold by so-and-so, fulfilled by Amazon. And usually when I've seen that, I've known, they're going to charge extra for shipping. Returns are more difficult because it's one of those things where it's shipped by and sold from someone else. And I always avoid those. But now it says sold by someone else, but it's Prime eligible, and it comes from Amazon.
Right. So what they do with that is they actually have the stock for that company housed in an Amazon warehouse.
Yeah, and I love that when they do that. But I actually had a big problem. I did overnight shipping on something that I needed from Amazon, and I didn't really look closely, and it wasn't fulfilled by Amazon. It was a third party, and even though I paid for overnight shipping, they did not ship it for about a week and a half.
Oh man!
And what are you going to do?
But yeah, I think Suncast, you're right. I think that's the loophole, and I think we've just discovered that's why they're doing that now.
I just think it's crazy.
They're not going to sell anything anymore. They're like, we don't sell anything. We just house it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if you estimate the sales of just 1,500 new iPhones, that would generate upwards of $35,000 just in sales tax in California.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's crazy. Well, look, this all came about off of CNET, where our reader Debbie Scott purchased a couple of iPhones 4Ss for $200 each, and they were charged more than $100 in sales tax just for a $200 phone.
I think that happened to me in 2010 when I got the iPhone 4. Come to think of it, I think I was like, what is this extra tax for? And they're like, well, you'd pay for the whole unsubsidized phone, which is unfair. I mean, that really hurts the consumers. And California has this whole weird thing about how they can't get adequate tax revenue without whole consensus or something crazy like that.
I mean, it's almost like when you buy one, get one free. Like they would tax you on the second item that you got free.
Well, that's what they're saying. They say that even if the carrier offers you a free phone, you would still have to pay sales tax on the retail value of that phone. Even if it's $600, you still have to pay the tax for that.
The unsubsidized.
Yeah, even
price.
though you're getting the phone from the carrier for free.
Yeah, but the reason why it's free is because it's subsidized and because it's not selling. They're not chopping the price of the phone. They're giving it to you for free because it's a subsidized phone. So what's going to happen? You're gonna get a free phone. How about like a flip phone that's free, but if you didn't buy it subsidized, it's $200.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. Oh my God, that's gonna be a mess.
I just think California. It's just really bizarre in wanting to tax the crap out of everything.
Well, welcome to New York too.
Yeah,
Taxes. Everything is taxed. But Amazon actually had a change of heart in. There was some controversy with the Kindle Fire HD ads that are going to be put in place.
Special offers.
Yeah, since we're talking about subsidizing, the reason why the Kindle Fire pricing is low compared to other tablets is because they are subsidizing it with ads. So you're going to have special whatever the ads are going to be. I'm not too sure what they are exactly, but they're going to have
books, music,
whatever it is. Yeah, they're going to have ads pop up even though you paid for this device. They said, no, you can't turn it off. This is how it's going to be. And they had a change of heart early in the week. And they said, well, for $15, you could turn off the ads.
I think they actually made a mistake with 15. I think they sold themselves short. I don't know why they did that, because they charge more for the black and white e-ink Kindles. And I've had one of the e-ink Kindles since they came out last year, the cheapest one, which I've been a huge fan of. I actually like the ads. It's more interesting than a blank screen. The ads are usually visually interesting, and it's almost like having a little picture frame. So for $15, I'm sure that they would have made more money off of those ads over the length or over the lifetime of the tablet than $15. So I don't know why they would sell themselves short like that.
Yeah.
Well, my main argument was the fact that they didn't offer a person a choice.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking happened, is that they didn't offer you a choice and they felt their back was against the wall, so they came up with a pricing structure really fast. But I mean, if they had told you $50 to turn off the ads, I think a lot of people would have done that.
Yeah.
Interesting that 15 is the price point, or it shows that their ads may not be effective. That could also play a huge part. Also, last week, we got... there was a big controversy with Nokia. Eric wasn't here. Nokia had a big press event in New York City last week where they unveiled the Lumia 920 and the Nokia Lumia 820. And part of their presentation, part of the event, was for them to profile how good the camera is on this device. And the camera has some really cool features, but they played a little video that was shot, and I forgot which website it was. I think it was The Verge. That discovered that the video was fake. It was actually a professional video shooting it that they were claiming was the camera. Now this has prompted an ethics probe, and an ethics compliance officer for the company is now investigating the matter to see what happened. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Every company does this, and I had a heated discussion on Twitter with somebody over this. I'm not going to base my opinion of this device based on a commercial that they shot. When I look at ads, I don't think they're 100% accurate. Of course, it's going to be one-sided. People really get skewed in these things, and they get very passionate. To me, it means nothing. The actual... when I have an on-hand experience with this device, that's when I'm going to care about it. But every company does this. When you buy Tide commercials, food commercials. I'll give you one example. I had a frozen smart one, those frozen meals, lunch meals. What I look at on that package is nothing like the inside of this thing. So yeah, everybody does this, and I don't think it should be this large controversy.
I do actually.
You do? Okay. Tell me why.
I'll be the counterpoint to this. I think Nokia in particular has had a reputation, and many people still argue that they maintain this reputation of having the best phones of any smartphones, of any camera, of any phone in the world. Their camera optics and camera sensors are the best, and they're marketed as like the phones for the photographer. That's been their history. So when you have a company like Apple, who really does have a fantastic camera and puts all, as far as I know, puts all of the photos and sample videos on their website that were taken by an actual iPhone. Yeah, it may have had a stabilizer. Yeah, it may have been the best possible lighting conditions in the world, but at least it did come from the actual sensor, and you can look at it and say, this is what I would get. Whereas in this case, I mean, I think what The Verge or whoever discovered this found was they looked at a reflection in the video and found like a big freaking over the shoulder, like film grade camera, real professional, $20,000 or more camera pretending to be the phone. And Nokia's response was, oh, well, we merely meant that to show the difference between stabilized video and unstabilized. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And they did it also with the picture of the girl in front of the night backdrop. I think someone else posted a photo that they snapped on the street of the actual photo shoot, and you can see big professional lighting rigs and a DSLR with the big telephoto lens. Yeah. I mean, it was so not the Nokia phone taking those photos. I think they went way over the line with that one.
I think it's a little shady of them to do, and yeah, listen, I don't necessarily feel that it was right, but to me, it doesn't really mean anything because I will never go based on these sample shots on a website. I think what's going to sell this device, much like every other device, every other phone that's on the market, is what the bloggers and the reviewers think of it.
Well, I think all they just needed to do would be like, these images are simulated on the screen in small fine print or whatever.
Yeah, but then that's even worse. You're actually saying our camera's too crappy to actually take pictures of.
Yeah, but that's what they did.
That would have been better than nothing, though. I think that's where they got in real trouble, was they did not even say that this is not an actual photo. But it's funny. Before the show, we started talking about AT&T versus Verizon, and we said, oh, save it. We'll get to that in the show. And then I think we forgot. Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that, actually. You were asking what carrier to go with. And in New York, it's a fascinating situation that I'm in. Where I am, I have no service at all, and I'm in New York City. But for whatever reason, my little pocket here on the northeastern tip of Queens, New York, I think it's like a 2-block thing. There's absolutely zero service. Actually, right now I have 2 bars, and that's phenomenal that I have 2 bars on 3G on my 4G phone. But if I were to walk a couple blocks up, I would probably have full bars and get 20 megabits download and 10 megabits upload with 4G.
Well, they do call it the concrete jungle.
It is in many cases, yeah. So for me, Verizon works great when I'm outside of my little neighborhood, but AT&T is phenomenal here. I've never had an issue with an AT&T phone in New York City. AT&T has been gracious enough to loan me a couple devices in the past, and every time I go around Manhattan or anywhere in New York City with an AT&T device, I never have a dropout. It's consistent. Verizon is much faster with the 4G speeds, with the LTE speeds, but as far as stability, AT&T is the way to go, in my opinion. And I could be wrong. This is just based on my experience, but T-Mobile and Sprint are awful. You can't, it makes no sense to get it. They may have small pockets that it works, but not anywhere that I've been.
So how about for even just voice calls? AT&T still wins?
Voice calls, yeah. AT&T still wins. Yeah.
Interesting. I that may have made my decision because, and I'll just say this for people who didn't watch the pre-show here, that we found out that the iPhone 5 on Verizon will not let you make voice calls and download data at the same time. So
that's a very interesting talk too. If you want to talk about that real quick, because what it turns out to be is that it can't do that because Apple didn't put a third antenna in there to do that. That's what it comes down to, is Apple decided, it'll do it soon enough on 2 antennas. We're not going to bother now to put a third antenna in there so that people can do it now.
And I've been grandfathered into that AT&T Unlimited plan, which, it's not unlimited. But because of that, I've never been able to use my iPhone as a tether, as a Wi-Fi hotspot, and I really need to do that. So whatever I get with an iPhone 5, I need that. I need to switch to a plan. So that means if you're on the Verizon one and you're on the hotspot, you cannot then also take a phone call, and that seems like a big deal.
I'm trying to figure out if there's any other services here that work well, and I'm looking here, and there's a website that says like the closest tower to you, and apparently there was a Verizon tower by me. And the last time I checked, the tower's no longer active. So I think that's what screwed up Verizon in my neighborhood. But AT&T's phenomenal. It's crazy because AT&T was awful up until a couple of years ago. Up until maybe like a year and a half ago, there was no service with AT&T here. And they've really upped the ante as far as their infrastructure goes in New York City.
Does your phone on AT&T inform you whether you're using LTE 4G or HSDPA plus 4G, or does it just say 4G?
It just says 4G.
Okay, so do you happen to know what their LTE presence is like in New York?
I know it's solid. I know New York was one of the cities that they really tried to push LTE, but the speeds that I was getting, now I can't, I should look into this again. You know what? It's in the box. I put the phone in the box because I'm supposed to return it to them, and they're supposed to give me another phone, but I'll take it out this week and I'll take a look. It was far less as far as the speeds go than what I'm able to get with Verizon. I mean, Verizon, in certain areas in New York City, I'm able to get like 20 by 20, which is insane speeds. But it's not consistent. There are massive dropouts with 4G.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, as I was doing my research yesterday, AT&T has, I believe, around 70 LTE markets.
AT&T has 70 LTE markets, and how about Verizon?
Verizon, I believe, if I remember correctly, 371. They have the most out of anybody, and Sprint is pathetic at only 19.
Really? Well, Sprint's really fallen behind. I mean, it's a shame what's happened because they're the second CDMA company left in the country, but they're really not really offering much at this point.
And we should say, if you're an frequent international traveler who's got to travel with your iPhone 5, there are different restrictions on what phone you can take out of the country and even into Canada. I think it's a different. So I think it used to be that the GSM phone was the world phone and the Verizon CDMA was sort of the US only. And with this iPhone 5, that's kind of been reversed because the Verizon LTE frequencies have more in common with the ones in the UK and elsewhere. But again, you've got to know, are we talking voice, data, what's your plan? So it's just, there's a lot of factors to factor in, and it's actually more difficult to decide about this iPhone 5 than I think ever before.
Since we're on the topic of voice, before we get to our picks of the week, Skype got a new audio codec. They're going to be upgrading it sometime in the future. They haven't released a date, but the new codec is called Opus. And
Vaporware.
No. This is standardized. Opus was recently.
Well, not yet.
No. They passed I'll tell you right now because I wrote the article. I'll tell you the organization.
But wasn't Kurt saying yesterday that they still had to do some finalizations with it?
Well, Opus was standardized by the Internet Engineering Task Force this week. And it's a joint thing, and I think this is going to be great because Mozilla's behind it, Skype with Microsoft, Google, Broadcom. A lot of these companies are behind it, and it's an open platform. So I think you're going to see a standardization as far as the quality goes. Now, Skype may not be happy about that because that's their advantage right now. Silk 3 is a great codec, and that's why they've gained so much momentum because it works really well. But I think between Google Voice, Google Talk, and any of these other services, they're really going to transfer over to this specific codec, and that's great because they bring some sort of standardization. But the Opus codec gives you much higher audio quality. They're claiming CD quality. Now, CD quality, who knows if that's the case, but it also does really well with latency and packet loss because the way that it handles the data. This is really interesting to me, and I'm really excited to see this come through. I hope it happens. I'm
really excited about this. I think this is I think this may be the H.264 of scalable audio codecs. Talk about a geeky thing to say. But, H.264, when it hit the scene, it made a big deal because it was twice the efficiency of MPEG-2. But unlike MPEG-2, it also scaled down from the lowest bit rates to the absolute highest. So the little postage stamp size phone video on your phone could be the same codec as your Blu-ray content. And we never had that with audio. You've got AAC, you've got MP3. I saw a nice graph that shows how those codecs work well on the higher end bit rates, and you've got like AMR and wideband, other things that work better for telephone quality. And Opus scales completely in a nice arc on that graph from the very lowest to the very highest bit rates, which means we may even eventually see a better standard than AAC for music. come out of this. And I've got a link here if you want to, if you're following along at home and want to watch a presentation on this. I haven't
Follow
watched
the
this
bouncy
yet.
ball.
There's if you go to YouTube and you search for Opus, the Swiss Army knife of audio codecs, and this is from LinuxCon something 2012. Someone gives a presentation on this new codec. I haven't watched it yet, but it might be interesting in a very geeky way. But if you want to learn more about how they formed this codec.
I watched some of it while I was writing the article on the IIB about this. There were a lot of interesting points. Like one of the things that Skype is hoping to do is offer a hybrid mode where you could use both codecs at the same time, which I found interesting on how...
What would be the point?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what would be the point. I'm trying to figure that out. Maybe someone in our chat would know. They're also saying that Opus improves audio quality experience all across all spectrums from narrowband mono to full band stereo. So it's going to be able to do both, you know, for voice and music. And that's kind of what Google was trying to do with that switch, right? That they added in Google Hangouts, where it has like a stereo mode, it has a music mode, and it has a talk mode, which I found fascinating. I mean, I haven't used it since the thing came out. I don't know if anybody else is using it currently, but it was a nice little feature.
I just can't get that excited about this yet because...
You can't get that excited about an audio codec? What's wrong with you?
Well, no. Look, I think this is great, but my problem is that this is another one of those things like, well, when the heck are we ever going to get this?
Probably within the year.
I mean, all these companies sign up and say, oh, yeah, we like this. This is great, but... Okay, so, well, how long before all this stuff actually is integrated and works?
I think probably within a year.
Yeah, I would hope best case scenario, we'd see it within the next major upgrade to Skype.
I mean, they went from Silk to Silk 3 within one version, you know, version 3, whatever it was, the last 3 version, and they went to it in 4. So
I don't have that much faith in it coming that quickly.
Okay.
The codec naysayer. It's interesting that so they're combining Skype's Silk codec, which is what they pioneered for the I guess you'd say, well, no, low latency.
That's a proprietary codec.
Calls.
Yeah, and that's the value in Skype was the Silk codec.
And they're sort of giving that away as a patent-free or royalty-free standard, apparently, and combining it with the totally patent-free CELT, which is from Ziff.org. And the reason I find that interesting is because they're the folks behind OGG and Vorbis, which quality-wise never quite caught up with AAC. So that's interesting that they, I guess, did better on this higher end, I guess a replacement, a better version of Vorbis. I don't know. I personally, I would learn more about this.
I'm curious
That's kind
to
of
know.
my point, is the fact that we've had these other codecs, such as OGG and Vorbis, but they've really never become a big thing. Well, nobody's really widely accepted them. It's kind of a part of HTML5, but I mean, realistically, how many people actually use OGG?
Yeah, but here's the thing: this is becoming standardized, and that's what, to me, it might make it a standard in this because IETF standardized it. You know, is picking it as its standard, and there's so many big companies behind it where. I listen, if it works well, it works well. Everybody's going to incorporate it in their VoIP setup, and that's better for all of us because that's better audio quality, especially for what we do. Right now, Silk is great, but if we could improve the audio quality, it's going to be even better. One thing I would like to know is what the bitrate is going to be. And I haven't seen any numbers on what Skype is going to do with the bitrate because they obviously have to up the bitrate if they're claiming they're going to have CD quality audio. Mm-hmm. But what are they going to up to? 128? I think that's a little too much.
And they'd have to intelligently know whether or not to put stereo through if it's just a voice conversation.
Yeah. Jodamax in our chat says variable, maybe 96K max. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. They might do 96K and do it variable.
But you know what they could achieve also? They could get up to so-called CD quality by just making it wider band. I mean, I can even hear us talking right now, even though we both have fairly fast connections. I'm only pulling down a megabit according to iStat. Right now, so that's all that Skype is giving me. And you're not CD quality. I definitely hear compression. I hear a narrow voice band, band limited instead of like a full CD quality sound. Mm-hmm. So there are probably tricks they can do, just like HEAC does, where it kind of tacks on the treble information as a sidecar kind of thing.
Yeah. Also, Skype is not full duplex either. You know that also comes into play.
Right. I'm excited about this, and you're right. once something becomes standardized like this, that's where you see a big rollout. That's where you see everyone getting on the same on the board with this. And that's great, because look at what H.264 did. For the longest time, we lived in a world of real media versus Windows media versus QuickTime Sorensen video and all these crazy different formats. And then H.264, by virtue of being that much better and having a relatively inexpensive way to license it, baseline profile H.264 is now the VHS of video, of digital video. It's the guaranteed to play everywhere codec. And that's what WebM never had. That's what they're doing with this, what they wanted to do with WebM, but I was so angry at WebM because it was a downgrade in every respect. It didn't work with any hardware decoders. It didn't work, or encoders. It was actually lower quality and more pixelated, and all these issues. It was not an improvement. This is. So I'm excited about this.
I'll tell you what gets me excited.
What?
MPEG Dash.
MPEG Dash.
What's that?
You're not following along with MPEG Dash yet?
No.
That's the successor to H.264. It's supposed to be 2 times better.
No, really?
Yeah.
You're kidding.
No.
What?
You'll have to look it up. MPEG Dash.
How did I not know about this? Was it just...
It's really cool because they're talking about this is going to be what they want to use for 4K resolution video. Because as we get into using 4K resolution video, we're going to have to find something that can do a better job of compressing video down, but still look better than what we have today.
Wow. How far? It looks like they may be way far out from this. It looks like it's like just
it's
starting.
Still pretty far. I mean, they have some graphs as far as the performance. And what's really cool is it's just how great this is between if you want to do something at like 40 megabits per second versus something that's even 5 megabits per second. It's all going to end up being the same quality. There's not going to be that big of a difference. So you could theoretically compress 4000K resolution video to about 10 megabits per second, and it'll still look really, really, really good.
We may actually be talking about 2 separate things. I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry, and they're claiming that MPEG Dash is the same as dynamic adaptive streaming over HTTP, which basically just replaces the MPEG wrapper and not the codec. So it may replace, like I think Apple currently uses like an MPEG 2 wrapper for their HTTP streams that within it carries H.264. It sounds like that may still happen. So it may still be H.264 video, but Dash is a newer, more efficient wrapper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you editors.
actually, that's a great, I don't know if we have anything next, but that's actually a great segue into my pick of the week.
Actually, you know what I'm doing during this? Huh? That's exactly what I'm doing throughout this entire thing.
This is important for GFQ.
I know. You guys are great. I know. You guys know what you're doing. What am I getting? Hey, Andrew, you free? Let's play 8-ball pool multiplayer. I'm waiting. This is why I hate Facebook. I'm getting random messages by total strangers now. Yeah, let's do our picks of the week, guys. This is where myself, Eric, and Suncast pick a website, application, program, whatever it may be, as our pick of the week. I will go first this week. I was talking to Colm from our chat room, also does the Big Brother Rewind show with us. We were talking about selling our iPhones when the new one comes out. And I was saying, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go to Gazelle or I'll go somewhere else. He's like, oh, check out this website called Newton's Head. That's the website. And the rates on here are really, really good. I mean, it's much better than what you're able to get with some of the competing websites. So I had done it. I'm sure it's going to be much less now for the iPhone 4S, but let's see what it is. So let's go to a 16 gig iPhone 4S. Let's say excellent. Let's say I have the box, cables, AC, headphones, whatever the case may be. I'm sure it's going to be much less than it was early in the week. $256.
Nice.
Not bad. I mean, it's dropped down a little bit, but you could actually, and it holds it. So if I take the offer, it'll hold it for a little bit. So I could get $256 for my iPhone 4S.
Oh, they'll hold it. So that means that, that's sneaky. So you could agree to sell your iPhone before the keynote.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I like that.
But the price really has not dropped too much, and I was surprised. But $250 for the device. let's say you're going to go buy it, you're going to spend $50 on the iPhone. If you're in a contract, if you're not in a contract, you're going to, better than spending the $400, but you'll spend $2 something for it now. So I think it's great. And the pricing is phenomenal on this thing. It's called Newton's Head, and I discovered it this week, and it seems like it's a pretty cool site. And they only do Mac products. They only do Apple. They don't do, everything else. So let's see something. I'm curious what it would be for. What should I sell, Eric?
It has to be Apple?
Has to be Apple.
I don't know.
Maybe an iPad?
Your frayed cord?
Yeah, let's see my frayed cord, yeah. iPad 2 Wi-Fi. Excellent. I have the box. I have the cables. I have the AC adapter. I have the headphones. There we go. How much can I get for $284? So if I want, not bad.
That's crazy.
Isn't that really good?
That's really good.
Yeah.
Considering that doesn't even have a subsidized higher price, that's really good.
Yeah. $284 and it's $499, right?
That was the iPad 2 or 3?
iPad 2.
That's really good.
So for $120, I could go and buy a new iPad.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the pricing is really high, and it's like, wow, why is it so high? But great pricing. Newton's Head. That's the website. newtonshead.com is my pick of the week. Suncast, what's yours?
All right, so my pick is also related to the iPhone, and I don't know if you got the link for the website to pull up one part of it.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I was researching a bunch of stuff as far as what carrier to go with, how much stuff is going to cost if I want to go and get an iPhone. And Mac Rumors had a great post that detailed that Apple actually has a couple of great tools on their website, on their iPhone website, that help you decide. One of those tools is their eligibility tool, which is really cool. You can enter in your phone number, who you have, and a bunch of other information as far as relating to your billing account. And it'll actually tell you if you are eligible for an upgrade. If you're not, it'll tell you when you are eligible and what the costs are for getting it out or in contract. So if you have a phone that isn't in contract, it'll tell you, all right, well, you can get a new iPhone 4S, or you can get a new iPhone 5 for whatever price that they're selling it for out of contract. And then they also have a second tool, which is a little bit more on my side of things, because I was looking for prices. They have a second tool that lets you easily see the differences in prices between some of the carriers, AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon. I don't know if you can pull that up and you can go through it really quickly. But it's really cool. It lets you easily pick what kind of plans you want. And what's even cooler about this is if you go through each one of them and select what you might want on each carrier, you can also click the blue button and compare the plans and see which one would be the best for you.
You know what's crazy? Verizon, it's $110 for 4 gigs, and with the regular plan, that's how much your iPhone is going to cost you a month.
Yeah, granted, if you actually call them, I'm sure they have far more options available for you, and you might get a little bit more tailored service. But this is a great starting point if you want to have some sort of idea of what it's going to cost and what options are out there.
Cool.
Very cool. That's actually really good.
I'll have both the links on our website for you.
Very cool. Eric, what is your pick of the week?
All right. Well, if you couldn't get enough of my H.264 video talk a minute ago, I've got another one that is right in the same area. This is on the Mac App Store. It's called MKV2M4V. MKV, the number 2, M, number 4V. And this is a tool for video editors. I say it's for video editors. They claim it's for people who just want to move video onto an Apple iDevice. But I say where this really shines, it's $3. It's the best thing I found for taking an MKV video that you find on the internet. If you download a TV show, it's an MKV. If you rip a Blu-ray, it's an MKV. MKV is the new format of the internet. But if you are a QuickTime-based editor and you are on a Mac and you work with Final Cut, iMovie, even I think Avid or Premiere on the Mac is a QuickTime-based. So any of those will have trouble reading an MKV, even if it's got H.264 and AAC data sitting right in there. So you get this for $3. You run your video through there. It leaves the H.264 video untouched. It does not recompress a bit of it. The audio can go through either as pass-through or Apple lossless. So if you're taking it into a video editor like Final Cut, Apple lossless is the way to go. So you get totally lossless conversion of everything from HD to anything you find. And this is just fantastic for video editors trying to bring, movie clips or Blu-ray clips into a documentary or a project or something. It's always been difficult. This is how to do it. I really recommend this because I think you can see my review is still on the page there. I wrote that I spent like a whole day trying to find. I was going through videohelp.org and all those sites about demuxers and remuxers and all this crazy stuff. Man, this did it in one click. So MKV to M4V.
Very cool.
That's really
pick.
cool.
Very, very cool pick. Before I wrap it up, Suncast, any show plugs? I know you have a great website called Amadeus. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yep, it's my music blog where I like to go and find artists on YouTube that people don't necessarily know about, but they're freaking amazing singers out there on YouTube. So I find them and I post their videos on my website. It's called Amadeus, and it's spelled AMADAIS.com.
For all things Eric Lanigan, follow him on Twitter at Eric Lanigan, also ericlanigan.com. You do a bunch of podcasts every week, right? You're all over the place.
Yep. And Twitter's the best place to see the latest updates. But yeah, Eric with a K. See you there.
Eric with a K. And you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. Of course, you can follow the GFQ Network at GFQ Network on Twitter. If you miss any portion of the show, you can subscribe to us. We're on iTunes. We're on Zune. We're pretty much everywhere podcasts are available. Or you could just simply go to our website, gfqnetwork.com, and catch your replay there. Where everything's archived. Everything is on video and audio form, and you could just click and watch. And that's about it for this week, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. I thought it was a really fun show.
Yeah.
Good show. Great show.
Demuxers. Huh?
That's our word of the day.
This is me. Huh?
Me and Eric can talk about it.
Yeah, you guys go ahead. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.